what you want, when you want it, where you want it. This is The Mesh.
This is a previously recorded episode of Making Living Better on WHKY, Catawba County, North Carolina's radio source for first-person storytelling.
I'm going to talk this morning with Justin Fox. This is part of a new feature that we're going to do the first Wednesday of every month. We're working with Catawba County on their new branding program, Making Living Better. And we're going to get to meet some folks who are involved with Catawba County, maybe in different ways, different aspects. And Justin Fox joins us this morning. And I said before you came in, one of the first words I was going to say to you on the air was thank you, because you were a second-place winner in the Edison Awards.
I was. Yep.
And congratulations on that.
Thank you very much.
And then you were asked recently to speak at the Chamber's annual meeting. And as you were talking, you mentioned the fact that your mom told you about the Edison Awards because she had heard it on WHKY.
She sure did. She's been listening to 1290 since I was a kid. Really? And I mean, it's definitely a way to get the news here in Hickory. For sure.
That's great. And your mom's name is?
Michelle.
Michelle, thank you so much for listening to 1290 AM, 102.3 FM. And you were very kind and generous. You could have said a local radio station, but you actually used the call letters, WHKY, and we appreciate that.
Well, that's what we know it as. I mean, that's Hickory. That's the voice of Hickory.
Well, thank you very much. We appreciate it. So you were second place in the Edison Awards, and this is a Chamber of Commerce, Catawba County Chamber of Commerce annual competition for entrepreneurs.
Yep.
So you had a great idea. Tell us about this idea that you came up with and presented for your entry into the Edison Awards.
So the idea we came up with was to start a cidery here in Hickory, and that's really a winery where you make wine out of apples. And it was more, we were already doing it or working towards doing it, and we just took the opportunity to present it to possibly win some money.
Right. Now, you're not a farmer originally, not a farmer.
No. I am a furniture designer.
A furniture designer?
And that's my full-time career, and I still do that to this day. But we own an orchard in Watauga County, and we're actually working to plant an orchard here in Catawba County as well.
So in the Vale area, is that right?
Yeah,
so
right off Probst Crossroads.
Okay. So how did you get into this? What was the idea on a cidery? I don't know.
We went up to Charlottesville, Virginia for my wife's birthday.
UVA, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Outside of that area, or around there.
Right.
And the cider market had really taken off there. The Virginia wine scene is really growing at a pretty good rate, and cider's taken off there as well because it was traditionally made in the southeast and in the mountains.
Right.
And,
they had the apples, indigenous to the area.
Yeah, absolutely. And same thing here.
Right.
So we really saw that there, and we had some really good cider. So when we came back, it wasn't available here yet. There wasn't a lot of it. There was some in Asheville, and it was growing, but we couldn't get it here. And so I just decided that I knew I had made beer and I'd made wine before, and I thought, I could do this.
So you made beer and wine for the craft? I mean, this is something that you...
It was because I was a poor college student, and you could make a whole lot more than you could buy it for.
There you go. That's a great idea. So you mentioned your wife's birthday. So you're married, children?
I am married. I have two boys. My wife, Erin, and she stays at home with our oldest, West, and our youngest, Abram.
Very nice. Very nice. So why Catawba County? You could do furniture. I mean, was that what it was? Furniture that got you to Catawba County?
Here. Yeah, absolutely. I went to Raleigh for a little bit after I graduated from college, but ended up back here because a friend from college actually got me a furniture design job.
Okay.
And we stayed because we were going to get married, and we had our first son, and my parents still live here, and have for 20 years. And once we had West, it was like, why would we leave?
Right. So the parents are here. How about her parents? Are
they're about 3 hours west of here.
Oh, that's good.
Her dad actually worked in the area for 4 or 5 years, so we had him close by as well, and they're a day trip away. So for us, it's really the perfect crossroads.
Furniture design. That's still now. Are you an upholstered furniture design, or is it case goods, or what do you as far as?
I do a lot of case goods, contract furniture. I work for HBF currently, and so we do business furniture.
Okay.
Hickory business furniture. So the market's growing. It's coming back around. We do a lot of domestic goods, so it's turned around a lot in the last couple of years.
Yeah, I was going to say at one point in our area, of course, the furniture industry, a lot of it went to China, especially case goods.
Yep.
things like that. Upholstery seemed to stay.
Yep.
So what's new in furniture design? Tell me about that. What are we looking at that's new in business furniture? Is it ergonomic designs? Because it used to be just like if a chair looked good and fit under the desk. That was it. Now we got to make sure the back's right and we sit people up straight. Or
I'll bring you an NDA to sign before we talk about this next time I come on.
Non-disclosure, right? Okay, well, never mind. We won't talk about what's new in furniture. You know something I did see I thought was kind of neat, though? A desk that rises up every like half an hour. That you're sitting at your desk, and then all of a sudden the desk itself rises up.
We don't do those, but I'll have to look into that.
There you go. I did not sign an NDA with the other person I was talking about or talking with. So the cider business. What makes Catawba County a good place for the cider business? Is it because you got apples right over here in Vail? Is it because you got the cidery? I mean, that's one of the things that we're talking about is why Catawba County?
Well, it's a little bit of everything. You know, we decided when we wanted to stay, we looked at moving away to a bunch of different places that we'd visited and why the cities were great to live there. And when we decided to stay, I made it a point that if we were going to be here, I wanted to make Hickory the place to be. And so we look at that as we're going to do the cider because we want to do it, but also because we think other people enjoy it as well. And so we're trying to bring that local food scene and trying to make Hickory a destination for things like that.
Now, you did not do this growing up. You were not a farmer.
No.
So how do you go about finding – I'm guessing Extension, North Carolina State Extension is part of it. Where do you go for – but, of course, online today – I mean, I can figure out how to fix my own, faucets at the house,
absolutely
online. But is that where you learned it?
Well, I read a lot of books. I read a lot. And Extension's been a big help, especially since we purchased the orchard in Watauga County. But honestly, doing it is the best experience to learn and make mistakes. And we've made, I don't want to say a lot of batches, but quite a few batches that didn't turn out as expected. And you learn from that mistake and you move on and hope that it never happens again.
Now, how does cidery work? I mean, when you're talking about making cider, you said it's like wine.
Yep, same process.
So it's the fermentation.
Wine. Yep.
So you got to pick the apples first, right?
Absolutely. We do all that by hand.
So you got the family out there working.
Yep.
How old are the kids? You got the kids out there picking apples?
2.5 and 6 months. So they're not a whole lot of help.
No, I was going to say that, not the 6, but 2.5. They can go get some of the stuff that's fallen off the ground.
We call him quality control.
There you go. So you get the apples, and they don't have to look real pretty.
No.
Because you're going to press them, right?
Absolutely. We're all about, we don't spray. We're a holistically managed orchard, so we don't spray any pesticides or take care of that because we don't necessarily care that the fruit is of perfect quality. Really, the stress of that tree helps the flavor profile, too.
The stress of the tree, explain that
so
to
you don't want to decimate anything, obviously, but you don't want to give it a comfy life.
Okay.
So it needs to work for what it is getting, and you really get it. In my opinion, you get a better flavor out of that apple.
How many different types of apples do you have in the orchard that you've got over?
The orchard we have now, we have 27 varieties.
27 varieties? I got to ask, Red Delicious part of them?
We do have a couple Red Delicious trees.
Right.
We have old-fashioned Red Delicious as well, and McIntosh, and that's probably the end of what we grow that other people would know.
Other people would recognize, right?
Yep.
So you've got a lot of – are these wild varieties that grow?
They're planted varieties. The gentleman that planted them bought a lot of the trees from Stark Brothers, which is a big orchard or a big nursery. Back in the 80s. And so it was a lot of the things that were popular then, but a lot of the apples were grafted from his family's orchards or friends that grew up in the mountain region that had apples as well.
So is the Vail area, Catawba County, is that going to be good for apples? Is that going to be a good place to grow them?
I think Davis & Son would tell you that it's a very good place to grow apples.
Who?
Davis & Son, they're in Lawndale.
Okay.
So if you keep going or out towards Toluca, and they grow a very large orchard out there. So Catawba Valley is really pretty perfect for growing apples.
Really?
It's moderate temperatures, not too big of swings, but the important thing for apples is you get cold nights. So you have to have a certain number of nights below 40 degrees.
Gotcha.
To make sure that tree produces fruit the following year.
Okay. So will you plant an orchard from or it's the area that you're looking for? Do you already have an orchard there?
No, we bought we actually closed last week on 20 acres.
Congratulations on that, because that's very stressful.
It is.
Yeah.
It has been.
Yeah.
And we're going to be planting.
How many acres? 20 acres?
20 acres.
Right.
And we're splitting that up, and we're going to do a family subdivision. So my brother's going to move onto that land. And
really?
And my parents will move onto that land. So it'll be a little Fox homestead.
Right, but you got to have labor there.
That's what I was looking for all along.
I was going to say, you get the family all together, that's a nice thing.
Yeah, exactly.
But then you have them, if you got to go on vacation, somebody's got to watch the orchard.
Yeah.
Because farmers don't get vacations.
Yep. Let's not say that too loud. My wife's listening.
Okay, gotcha. What's the biggest surprise you've had as being a farmer? Because I think everybody in their life at one point or another has said, yeah, that's what I want to do. I want to go work with my hands. I want to work with the land.
Yeah.
I want to be a farmer. And then all of a sudden you realize you got to get up early and you don't take vacations and you got to bed real late. And there's so many different things with the weather. I mean, if it rains too much, if it rains too little, the nights don't get cold, the nights get too cold. When we come back, we'll talk a little bit about that. How about that?
Perfect.
Justin Fox is our guest this morning. We're talking about his experience here in Catawba County and being in Catawba County and his cidery. We got to get the name. We got to find out about where we're going to get the cider next here on First Talk.
We'll get back to your show in a moment. Just a reminder, you're listening to The Mesh, an online media network of shows and programs ranging from business to arts, sports to entertainment, music to community. All programs are available on the website as well as through iTunes and YouTube. Find out more at themesh.tv and give us feedback on what you like. And now, as promised, back to your show.
Good morning. Welcome back to First Talk with Hal Row on WHKY Talk Radio for the Greater Hickory Metro. 1290 AM, 102.3 FM. We're talking with Justin Fox this morning. Wife is Erin, is that
Erin,
right?
yep.
Okay, and your sons are?
West and Abram.
Okay, very good. And we were talking about the biggest surprise as a farmer that you've had. We all want to be a farmer maybe one day when we're growing up. We're talking about maybe wanting to do farming. What's the biggest surprise that you've had?
We've had two thus far. Right before we bought the orchard in Catawba County, they had the 100-year storm that came through. This is 3 years ago, I think. And they had gusts up to 100 miles an hour, I think it was, that came through the area. We're at 4,200 feet, so high elevation at the base of Snake Mountain. And we lost 6 of our trees. And so that was, we hadn't even purchased yet. We were in the process of closing on it. And I'm watching 5 of our 200 trees fall over. Wow. And we lose all that fruit because it was the middle of the summer and they already had a crop on them. So I thought that was bad. We lost 5 trees. That's probably 5 bushels apiece. That's 25 bushels, and a bushel's 40 pounds. So that's a decent amount of fruit. But then 2 years ago, and last year was really, really bad. Like I said, we don't spray. We don't really do any of the pesticides. And it rained pretty much every week all summer last year. And what that meant is the apples collect all that water, they swell up really, really big, and then they fall off the tree. So we lost about half of our crop at the end of August because it was really, really wet and then really, really hot. And the apples decided they were tired of hanging on the tree, and they just fell on the ground.
Wow. So these are things that you can't control.
Oh, no. And my wife's the best person to tell me that. She really keeps me calm in that scenario because it's not like I can drive to the orchard and go hold the fruit on the tree I would like to think that I could.
Right.
But she's good at tempering that.
Now, is she the big cooker, the big baker? Is she the one who's into food? Because I remember before we came on the air, I got some information, and it said that you'd like just used food as fuel. That was it.
Yep.
You just kind of ate because you had to.
Yep.
And then you meet her, and she's like baking, and she's cooking, and you're like, oh, this is good. This is
that's
what
exactly
it's about, right?
My wife is a saint. I want to start off there. She's really held me up through this whole thing, and that was how we started. Was she cooked, and she grew up in a family that cooked a lot, and she cooks almost every night of the week now. Still, and we have 2 boys. So it's a big task. And when we met, that was a big turning point for me. I was like, I could really do this for a long time if you'll keep making these pies and roast pork tenderloin and things like
pierogies.
that. Pierogies.
I saw pierogies.
Yeah,
I was wondering how many people who would read this would actually know how to pronounce pierogies. So I was
pierogi.
Like, good stuff.
So my grandmother, on my dad's side, made pierogies growing up. And so she wanted to win me over. And so we cooked pierogies together. We called my mom and got the recipe from her, and we made pierogies. That was one of the things I remember. We made them, and we called my mom back and said, this batch says it makes 24 pierogies. We've made it, and we only got 4. And I remember that they were like the size of a dinner plate. And, well, unfortunately, my recollection as a child of what these pierogies looked like was very wrong. They were supposed to be really small, so we ended up with 4 where we were supposed to have like 25.
Gotcha. You had to separate that out a little bit. Had to break that dough up just a little bit. But that's very cool. So that's kind of where the inspiration for this came, and the love of food, and the love of growing.
From her, absolutely.
And putting this all kind of in place. As you're taking a look at doing this in Catawba County, what are some of the real positives that you have? I mean, is it distribution? Is it family? We talked a little bit about the environment, but what are some of the things that make it great, that make it like outside of Charlottesville, or that make it like that this is going to be a good thing for you, moving down the road? What are some of the real positives? Because you seem to me like the kind of guy who's going to research it. You're going to research it. You're going to think about it. You're going to kind of plan it out, and you got a plan.
Sometimes, I think so.
And so in this case, What are some of the things that Catawba County has helped with in that plant? Is it distribution? Is it being around an area that you can kind of meet people and talk to them about?
The community is
cider?
a big thing for us, and not even in the cider aspect. Just people are really welcoming here, and I've been here for almost 20 years, and so I know a lot of folks, and my parents know a lot of folks, and I think that's the big thing is once people in Hickory find out about something, they tend to get behind it.
Right.
And I think that's why a lot of the other, like the farmers market's done so well and is growing as well as it is, and the restaurants and things Are you going
to be at the farmers market?
We're going to sell only at the farmers market to start with.
Really?
Yep. Because that's the community we want to be with. You know, we want to show people that wine and cider specifically is an agricultural product. So we're the same. We're growing the fruit and buying fruit from people that are growing it and making it into cider, and we want to have that reflected on the food community here.
So very, very quickly, because we're going to run out of time, because we could spend probably an hour, several hours. How do you make cider? What is it? You take the apples, you press them now. So we talked a little bit about this earlier, but I want to kind of get an idea. You press them, then you age them.
Yep. Yeah. So we'll pick and we'll grind. So you get a pumice out of it.
Okay.
And then you press that pumice. We have a 120-gallon basket press, so it's fairly large, about as tall as I am, and we'll fill that up with pumice and press the juice out of it, and then we'll transfer that juice to barrels, and we let that ferment, and we pitch yeast on it to help fermentation. We're starting that way. We're going to do some wild fermentation as well, but it'll ferment for about 4 months, and then we'll take it, we'll rack it a couple times and make sure it's doing well, and then we'll put it in a bottle before it's finished fermenting so we get bubbles.
Okay.
And so we're doing bubbles without carbonation. We're not pumping it full of CO2 to get those bubbles. We're doing that naturally right out of the fermentation process.
Gotcha.
So it'll go in a bottle. It'll rest in the bottle for about 3 months, and then it'll be ready to drink.
So all this is done naturally. All this is done, I guess, organically. If you're talking about not using, you might not be able to say certified organic.
Can't do that, unfortunately. But yeah, I mean, we're trying to be as hands off as possible. That's my thing. Is I want to grow good fruit to make good cider. I don't want to have to step in the fermentation process to correct something that I could have corrected in the field. And that's really what I want to do. Very
cool. Didn't even think about that. What do your buddies say about this? Maybe people who are from not from the area, and they're thinking, "Man, what are you doing? You're a farmer."
Yeah.
Because I really like your North Carolina apple hat. That's a great hat, man.
I got to get you one.
I want one. That's a great farmer look for you. So what are they saying? And what does the family say? Justin, what are you doing here, man? You got this degree and you're a furniture designer, and now you're out here.
I love my full-time job. Don't get me wrong.
Right.
My family has been extremely supportive. That's who picks with me and presses with me and bottles with me and all that stuff. And
that's
the people
that's very cool.
Everybody that I meet has been really receptive to it. We actually made a pretty good-sized batch for my best friend's wedding a couple years ago.
Oh, really?
And it was a big hit. And I was really glad to get that feedback because up to that point I've been giving it to friends and people I knew, and so they're less likely to say this is a bad idea.
Where can I go get a cold bottle of cider today if I wanted to? Because I know that you have it produced. You produce it locally, but do you have it available locally? Where if I go get a pork sandwich or something like that, I can go get a bottle of local cider?
I wish. We're not legal quite yet.
Oh.
We're working on that right now, so we'll get the building worked out. We're in a space in downtown Hickory that we're working on currently.
Oh, really?
Yep. And,
so you're going to be doing a lot of that in downtown Hickory. So you're going to be growing out in the orchard in Catawba County.
Yep.
You're going to be bringing it in, maybe bottling it, distributing it from downtown Hickory.
Yep. So we'll be bottling right behind next to the bus station, and then walking it up to the farmers market on Wednesdays and Saturdays to sell. So it'll probably be 2019 before we see a finished batch because of the legal paperwork and red tape and all that. But we're shooting for spring of 2019 right now.
And just before we wrap up, because we got just seconds left, the Edison Awards was a big thing for you.
It was.
And winning that second place. And that's great because you got a little capital, you got the business plan, they helped you with all that and all the great things that go into the Edison Award. So we just want to kind of give them a little shout out. And all
thank you guys. Thank you, Jeff. Thank you, Byron.
I want to thank you very much. Justin Fox joins us this morning. We've been talking about. So glad to meet you. We found out about this. It sounds very cool. I think it's going to be a great thing for our community. What happens in the future with it? And again, we want to thank your mom. Is it Michelle?
Yep, Michelle.
Michelle for listening these many years. So we want to thank you very much, and I thank you, Justin Fox. We've been talking this morning about making living better in Catawba County.
Thanks for listening. To find more first-person stories from Catawba County, visit makinglivingbetter.com or tune in to themesh.tv each month for a new podcast.
You've been listening to The Mesh, an online media network of shows and programs ranging from business to arts, sports to entertainment, music to community. All programs are available on the website as well as through iTunes and YouTube. Check us out online at themesh.tv. Discover other network shows and give us feedback on what you just heard.